Hi everyone, it's Evangeline here at eTrailer, and today we'll be taking a look at the Hollywood Rack's Destination 2 bike platform rack here on our 2019 Honda Civic. The Hollywood Rack's Destination bike rack is a compact portable rack. Very helpful if you have that inch and a quarter hitch on your Honda Civic, because your options are limited because you don't have the greatest weight capacity. So with this still checks off all those boxes of securing your bike. You have that nice stable platform, but it's lightweight and portable enough that you could even keep this in your car when you don't have a bike on it. So we'll talk about those features, but we're gonna focus on the Honda Civic here today. That way you can see what is the better fit for you, your different types of bikes, and your vehicle. So the first thing we'll talk about is cargo and access to your trunk. As you can see, the Hollywood Rack's Destination does not have a tilt-away feature. That's something you'll find on something like the Swagman Schnook or the Kuwait Transfer V2. So with the bike on there, you can see how we just don't have enough clearance with our handlebars to completely open up our trunk. We still have a really good space in here if we need to grab something real quick, but if you want full access to your trunk, you will have to take the bike off. So let's talk about that. How is our bike mounted to this bike rack? Well, we have 3 different touch points, making for a weight capacity of 35 pounds per bike. So if you have heavy electric bikes, probably not gonna be the best fit for you, but 35 pounds is the average usual platform bike rack weight capacity. We have 1, 2, and those 2 touch points are going to be your front and your rear wheel straps. And then your middle touch point, or your third, is going to be your frame mount. So that frame mount is where the Destination shines compared to some of your other entry-level bike racks, because you just have a short mast, which makes it easier for you to load up your bike. And whether you have, let's say, a step-through frame, a women's bike, or you just have an alternate frame, you can pick wherever you want in order to secure the rack. You can see here this has a 360-degree rotation. So you can move this up, down, left, right, and even around for those different frames. So when you want to take your bike off, you start at the wheel straps. And depending on your bike's wheelbase, you can actually move these straps up and down just to get the best fit. So you just press this lever, and then that releases the strap. You can lift that up and slide that out of the way. So that's going to be the front, and then go towards the back and do the rear. And then you're gonna do your frame mount. And this is gonna be a little bit trickier depending on your different frames, because you're gonna have to hold on to your bike as you press that strap lever and release that strap. Once that's out of the way though, the good news is you have plenty of clearance beside your vehicle. You can just tilt that and then lift it over that mast, and you're ready to go for a bike ride. With the bike out of the way, let's talk about the bike rack itself. So we have those straps that go around that front and that rear wheel. I talked about how you can move that back and forth for those different wheelbases, and the maximum wheelbase you can carry with this is going to be up to 48 inches. Notice as well how the straps fit around those wheels. You have that rubber piece on top just to give you extra grip and to cushion those wheels. And the maximum tire width you can carry on this bike rack is going to be tire widths of up to 3 inches. So we now have full access to our trunk. So if you need to grab your larger items, you are going to have to go through the process of taking your bike off. So I do recommend maybe the Swagman Schnook if you wanted an easier way to do that. Now, what you can also do is you can make this where it fits inside of your trunk, but you're gonna have to fold things down. So let's take some measurements for the dimensions of this bike rack. How much space does this add to the back of your Honda Civic? Well, measuring from our bumper to the end of the rack by those white reflectors, it sits at 25.5 inches. So that is very compact for a 2-bike platform rack. Definitely something worth considering whenever you're backing into your garage or trying to park into a really tight spot. The downside to having a hitch on your Civic though is you have really low ground clearance. So measuring at the center of the bike to the ground, bike rack to the ground, it sits at 19.5 inches. At the end of the bike rack by the end of the wings, that sits at 15 13 inches. Compare that though all the way over here where the shank is, which is only 10 inches off the ground. So when you go up those steep inclines, like those driveways or hills, you'll want to make sure you have a good enough ground clearance. The good news here is that you have a shank rise, so the end of your bike rack sits higher up off the ground. That way your bikes don't hit the ground. So we're gonna fold down the mast because we need to do that to put this into the portable position. So we have this knob here at the end. You're just gonna turn that knob just enough so that you can loosen it, and then lift that anchor out of the way and tighten back down. The next thing after that is just to slide this back and forth, whichever makes it easier for you. You do have different options for securing that mast. You could use the straps on the frame mast itself, or you could use one of the wheel straps, whichever you'd pick and choose. Just make sure to alternate it, that way you don't warp the straps over time. With that mast down, we can now fold the rack up by first taking this clip off, and then you're gonna rotate this bolt on the side. Once that is completely loose, you can just let that hang there. As you lift the rack up, pop that bolt right back in and tighten it down. So this is going to be a very important step because it's holding that rack in place, and you want to make sure once you have it fully tightened down to put the clip back in. Now let's take some measurements with this folded up. The first is going to be the closest point. We have plenty of clearance between our bumper and our bike rack. In fact, that's 6.5 inches of clearance. The length this now adds to the back of our vehicle is from the bumper to that hinge, 13 inches, so a little bit over a foot. Big difference compared to when this was folded down. You'll definitely want it in this position when you're just planning on driving around town and not planning on going for a bike ride just yet. But what is it like living with a bike rack behind you all the time? Well, with this folded up, you can see we still have access into our trunk, which is awesome because then you can grab our larger items and put them away. Also, with it folded up, our rear window is completely visible. Our taillights are visible as well. Now our license plate sits right over here, as does our backup camera. So that's gonna be sitting above the folded up bike rack. What's gonna happen is as you go into reverse, you'll be able to see a little bit of the bike rack in your view, but you'll also be able to see all the cars and the view behind you, which is awesome because that way you can stay legal and safe on the road. Now for your Honda Civic, you are very limited when it comes to hitch receivers that can fit on your vehicle. In our case here, we have a class 1.25" hitch receiver. Your options are limited for those heavier platform racks, so it's really nice that the Hollywood Racks destination has that class 1 compatibility with its 1.25" shank. So that pops right in there. You have an anti-rattle bolt, and then you have a lock at the end. You can use that lock with the cable lock that's included with this rack to secure both your bikes and the bike rack. The anti-rattle bolt uses a 3/4 inch wrench or socket. We have extras here at eTrailer if you want to add that on with this rack. And then it takes out that shake on that bike rack. So you can see here as I shake the bike rack back and forth and even up and down, we have it where the vehicle itself is moving around. That's because that connection is nice and secure. If you feel like there is a little bit of movement, just double check this hinge and this bolt there, and that's gonna keep everything nice and tight. So my personal thoughts about the Hollywood Racks Destination 2-bike platform rack is this is awesome because it's very lightweight, very compact. If you're just planning on going for a bike ride every now and then, or if you even want to keep your bike rack on your Honda Civic, with how we still have full access to our trunk, this is going to be an awesome fit for you. The downsides to this bike rack though is its weight capacity, since it is so lightweight. If you have slightly heavier bikes, like my bike is 40 pounds, cannot be used with this, I would use the Swagman Schnook instead. It's a little bit trickier to use, not as easy, but that has more weight capacity, and it also tilts away. So you have your different pros and cons, but for bikes that are within the 35-pound weight capacity, this is probably going to be the best fit for you. And that was a look at the Hollywood Racks Destination 2-bike platform rack on our 2019 Honda Civic.